Right. Party people in the place to be, vandals, and everybody else lurking out there in the shadows. This is a brand new episode of How Did We Get Here? And tonight we're talking to a really, really cool guest, somebody we've kind of wanted to have on for a while. He's co created on probably one of the creepiest books of the past decade. One of my favorite little horror chillers that I recommend every spooky season. I think we talked about it quite a bit. And yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself, Mr. Ryan Lee, and kind of let the people know who you are.
Hey, I'm Ryan Lee. I'm a comic artist. I've done. You want to run down my whole thing, or I don't know. I did a book at IDW called Mountainhead. I've done Rick and Morty. I've done some stuff for Marvel in the past. Did a bunch of stuff for Valiant. That's kind of my rundown. I got a new thing coming out that I can't announce yet, but I'm working on stuff for that right now. So that'll be at a publisher. Yeah, that's kind of me. That's it.
Yeah, I saw in the descriptions at the end of, I don't remember what it was, it the Rick and Morty. It kind of gave a rundown of like the past things you've done, and I saw Valiant, and I saw that you've worked on Archer and Armstrong.
Yep. Yeah, I did some stuff for Archer and Armstrong. Geez, that must have been like 6 years ago. It was pre-pandemic.
2015, right around there, I think is when those issues came out.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
You
it was
did-
a long time ago now.
You did interiors or just covers for that?
I did some interiors. I did some covers. I did a bunch of character design stuff. Yeah, it was a lot of stuff. Yeah, that was fun. It was great. They kind of they gave me a lot of work for like 2 or 3 years. It was pretty amazing. They just kept giving me more and more stuff. So it's always nice to have a good relationship with some people.
Yeah. And you seem to have a pretty good relationship with IDW as well, because you did Mountainhead with John Lees, and then you did what was the one shot for Rick and Morty? The one that's like the Mad Max parody.
Oh, the Oni stuff. Yeah, I did the Deathstalkers single issue, and then I did there was like a four issue thing called Crisis on 137.
Yeah.
That I did with Stephanie Phillips there. So
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, how was it working with Stephanie?
oh, she's the coolest. She's like super collaborative, hilarious, super smart, and some of the like easiest scripts to draw from. Like she just puts the perfect amount in there, leaves you the perfect amount to like, kind of do your own thing. I loved working with her. She's an incredible writer.
And for getting to work on a licensed property, that's a pretty wild one to kind of, you probably go pretty crazy working on a book like that, unlike some other commercial books.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, the Rick and Morty universe lets you basically do anything. So, I watched a lot of the show and did a lot of research, and so we knew the characters pretty well, but like the sky's the limit with that property. Like there's no wrong way to do something, and the fact that there is no continuity is kind of built into the show because they can be anywhere in space, time. It's just bananas. So it's, for me, like it's been amazing to like just work in that universe, because it's just I've drawn the craziest stuff in that. Between that and like I worked on I did a short or a single issue book about Mr. Nimbus with Alex Firer, and his scripts were some of the most insane things. It was like I've never drawn anything like what he was asking for, and it was like chock full. He's a cool dude.
What kind of, because that's a licensed property, right? So and we know your style, right? We know like how gory you can go, how body horror, like Mountainhead and stuff like that. So did they have any restraints for you when you were working on Rick and Morty? Because I love that grittiness, the kind of that you brought with your style to it. Like,
thank you.
But I know you, like, I've seen a lot of your work, and I know like how you can go like one way or the other. So did they like put limits on you, or is it like just go for it and like,
They didn't really say anything right out the gate, but I kind of knew doing a licensed product, especially like Rick and Morty. Um, I didn't want to like take too many liberties with the characters themselves in terms of like messing with their proportions. So I tried to be pretty on model when it came to like, how big their heads were in comparison to their bodies. Like I tried to be very close in terms of the cartooning of them, but I kind of used like my rendering style, where it's kind of like fussy hatching and a lot of blacks and a lot of textures and stuff. I kind of just threw that on top of like the cartoony, pretty close to model characters, and I got very few notes back. I think they made me change a face once or twice, but I was surprised by how little they meddled with it, considering it was a licensed product. Because I've heard like I have friends who've worked on other licensed products, and it doesn't always sound like a blast.
No, because your first one shot was the what was it called? The Mad Max one. What would you say the name of it was?
The Deathstalkers, yeah.
Deathstalkers.
Yeah,
and
Hemorrhage.
I love that one. Like when I was like, oh fuck, Ryan Lee's doing a Rick and Morty, and I saw it was that story, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be too good, and it was fantastic. I loved it, and I thought that was like the perfect first story for you, like especially with your style to come in, and because it's already kind of set in a grittier world where so that one shot was fantastic. I love that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Robert Myers was the editor on that. I worked with him on a bunch of stuff at Valiant, actually, and he moved over to Oni, and he was the one who kind of put us together. He was like, I have the perfect thing for you, and I read it, and I was like, this is awesome. Because, I mean, I loved Mad Max, too, so I already, it helps when you kind of understand, like, what it's referencing. But I got to like create a bunch of characters in that story and just make up. I basically drew just like mutants and weirdos the whole issue. So that's kind of fun.
It was a great
draw anyway. So
that was a great issue. I love that. I was like,
Thank you.
But I mean, all the stuff you've done has been fantastic. But for the Rick and Morty series, I remember that one. I was like, oh. Then I saw you did a few others. So you're doing a lot of the. Like, what is it? They put it together as a Rick and Morty Presents. It's a bunch of like smaller stories and stuff. You did a few of those, which were really cool.
Yeah, I loved. Yeah, the Nimbus one was really fun, and then it was great working for Oni. They're a really fun publisher to work with. So.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I think I've read all of your stuff for Rick and Morty. I think.
Well, if you need anything, I have a lot of comps still, so I can mail it to you.
Speaking of which, if people want to get stuff, you have your store. You opened it up. What is that? The beginning of summer? Your online store. You opened it back up.
Yeah. I finally put a bunch of stuff back up on there. I'm like, I have all this art lying around, and I also wanted to sell. I never made like shirts or anything like that, so I started. I got the shirts up and. I'm like, I should be trying to sell some of this stuff because I'm not precious with my art.
Okay,
One of our cast members, Goose, he's actually bought quite a few pieces off you. I think they're actually commissioned, though, that he had.
Oh, yeah, he has.
He commissioned, and I think he bought one original page as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. He really wanted to be here, but, he's a huge fan. I know he's bought a lot of stuff of yours.
Oh, I love that guy.
Yeah, Goose is a one-of-a-kind human being. We love him.
He is. It sucks because I'm not on Twitter or X or whatever it's called this week as much as I used to be. And that's a bummer because his updates were always pretty interesting. I'm like, man, this guy lives like a completely different life than I know. And I love it. I mean, he just seems like the sweetest person, and he's so proud of his son and he just seems. That's what I love about comics. I've met so many interesting people, from all over the place. So I love that.
I was gonna try to sell people on your Inktober because you put up the link to sell all your Inktober stuff, but I think it's all sold out, right? You sold all your pieces. There is a couple left. Okay, okay.
But I mean, you got some great stuff, man. I was gonna bring it too.
Oh, thank you.
Did you do anything else cool during your Halloween season besides the Inktober? Because like you really like drew a gamut of like different ideas and just came up with some really cool stuff. So I was wondering, like, did you like have a cool film ritual or anything going on this year?
Oh, I mean, I didn't do anything officially, but as soon as I'm talking, like we decorated our house in mid-September, and I really milk it hard. And I've been watching horror movies since. I mean, I watch them kind of throughout the year, but I really dialed it up, like starting probably in early September. As soon as it starts cooling off around here, I live in northern Michigan, so it cools off kind of early.
Yeah.
So yeah, I watched a lot of stuff, though, like a lot. I couldn't do it every night, and I couldn't do an October every day. I wish I could, but like I'm trying to squeeze them in between like doing actual paid work and then you know shipping my kids around all their sports and everything they got to do. So, but yeah, I watched a lot of horror movies. How about you guys? Did you do anything cool?
Well, horror movies as usual. Like we watch whatever. I don't get into the like 30 movies of October or whatever. A lot of people do that horror movie every night. Like you said, get busy. Life gets in the way. You can't really dedicate or devote yourself to it. But yeah, we did a few episodes that were like Halloween centric. Read a few comics that were horror oriented, which is I read anyway, whether it's Halloween or not. So it's nothing like out of the ordinary or new. Like I had what's his name?
And we went a little Steve Niles and Ben Templesmith crazy this year. We did a whole 30 night episode, and
that's great.
A bunch of vampire stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I had that. Did you hear what Ed Gein did? I had it on my shelf for like 2 years, and I had never read it, so I read that. I finally got around to reading it.
Oh no, I never read that.
Yeah, with Eric Powell. Yeah, it's.
Eric Powell did that. Okay.
Yeah, he did the artwork on it. Yeah.
Okay, so I have a stack of books that I haven't read. I think it's like behind me. I try to keep them in one section. I just got the. Are you familiar with the Santos Sisters comic?
Oh, Santos Sisters.
It
rings a bell.
These two dudes, Greg and Fake, and they're I think they're Chicago guys. They draw in kind of like this like Archie style almost, but their comics are so bizarre. They're just strange, but artistically they're just incredible. And they did this book called Santos Sisters, and Santos Sisters had a Halloween. I think this is the third comic they've done. I think they don't even crowdfund it. They just sell it on their site.
Okay.
But I haven't read it yet. I actually got it kind of late, but I can't wait to read it because they're super funny, but they're just the strangest comics.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've heard of that. Let's see.
Yeah, you should look it up. Their stuff's really cool, but it's like drawn like they're amazing draftsmen. But it has like the weirdest indie bizarro kind of sensibility to it. It's very, very strange and very funny. Pretty neat stuff. It's unique.
Yeah, I see it here now. I have it on my screen here real quick. Yeah, so I see what you mean. They definitely go with that Archie, like the layouts, even the title, right, is a very Archie-esque. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, they're neat.
So it leans into like the sci-fi, like you said, it's leans into the weird quite a bit. Yeah.
It's just weird. I don't know how else to put it. It's kind of uncategorizable because their sense of humor is it's just like nothing I've ever read. Just the mixture of like the really cool art with it's so strange. It's so strange, but it's really neat.
Yeah, it looks cool. We'll have to look into that and check that out.
Yeah, I would check that out for sure. It's really good.
Very cool. You said you've done a little bit of work for Marvel, and I'm not sure if you said DC as well. Like, what did you do for those companies? Covers or interiors?
Marvel, I did some interiors. I did like a one-shot a long time ago. I can't remember when I did it. It was for Inhuman when they were kind of pushing the Inhumans. And they came up with this new like team of people with the the Inhuman family, and I did like a single issue for them, and then it was like a small short in another comic, and then DC. I've never done anything for DC. I would like to. I would like to do some covers or something for them. That would be amazing. Or I have this idea in my head of like would love to do some kind of Arkham Asylum thing with that's just straight horror. I love Batman's like villains gallery. He has like some of the scariest. I mean, they're all monsters basically, or scary killers. And I don't know. I'm sure that's a dream of a lot of people, but I just think it would really fit my sensibility to do something like that.
Which ones would you like to play with the most, do you think?
Oh, the villains?
Yeah.
Killer Croc.
Yeah.
Killer Croc. Hold on. Clayface. Scarecrow.
Yeah. Nice.
Who am I? Oh, Solomon Grundy.
Okay.
And there's more. Ragman's pretty cool. There's so many. Many. Joker, too, of course. Riddler, I don't think he's cool, but
yeah,
it's not really scary.
I could totally. That would be a cool book. Like I like those types of styles of books. Where it's in maybe the Bat universe, but not centered around Batman. Like I like that kind of stuff. Yeah, and I could see your style like taking place in like total horror, like taking place in the Arkham Asylum. It'd be pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a concept, but I don't know. I have some friends who've written some stuff for them, and I've tried pitching some ideas to them. Like, what do you think? And they're like, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, like at big publishers, a lot of times they kind of have their plans worked out editorially already.
Yeah, so way ahead of time. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not always taking suggestions. So.
Yeah.
Maybe one day.
Or you could just do your own thing and just make it, take place in an asylum with characters that you can design that embody the same spirit, as like the rogues from Batman. You could always do that.
Yeah. I know that Daniel Warren Johnson's done his Star Wars books and stuff, and he doesn't. One of the keys to it too is you can't ask for money for it because you're using licensed characters. You're allowed to do parody, satire, and you're allowed to make a fan comic, I think, legally. So, and I've seen other people do it too.
Like what's the company here? 100% Comics does their stuff where it's the proceeds go to charity and stuff like that. And that's how they get away with it. Yeah, Wolverine, they did one for Weapon X. They called it Weapon X, and they just put out their Batman book that just came out. Yeah, and that's they get a bunch of different artists and they work on it, and then they sell it, and a good chunk of the proceeds goes to charities for art, like helping people make comics or something in the arts that has to do with comics and stuff. Yeah.
That's weird. Cool. Like Marvel should just put out Daniel Warren Johnson's Star Wars comics. People are gonna buy it. Like,
oh yeah,
just put that out. Like,
they would. It would be a cash cow.
Yeah.
It sucks that he has to put out fan-made comics. It's like
Disney's tricky.
Now he's working on Transformers, so
that's true.
I'm sure that's probably selling all right for him.
Yeah, I think that's done pretty well.
But I mean, that art, that Gotham Academy book, that's kind of drawn in your style, anyways. I could see you kind of like fitting in and doing like a book at DC, kind of like that.
Yeah, I really like. It's funny because I grew up being a Marvel kid. I don't know. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that it was just what I had access to. Whatever, like store I was going to, they had more Marvel. But I think DC has like some of the cooler and scarier characters. I feel like they have more monsters, and they have more built into kind of the supernatural realm between. This goes back decades. I don't know. I guess I guess they've always kind of had like a foot in the horror, which I like.
Yeah.
There's some really neat characters.
Yeah,
You
because
can go back to like Swamp Thing.
It came out of the House of Secrets, right? Wasn't that the book that he originated from? Yeah, so that's kind of like a horror title. And I don't know if DC had close ties to EC Comics as well. I don't know if a lot of their creators came through EC, or I'm not sure if there's a history there between the two companies, like creators.
Yeah, there might be. That's interesting.
Well, they kind of all did the same thing. Like DC had a bunch of they had House of Whispers and House of Secrets and House of Mystery, and like those were a lot like the EC books, and those all got changed when the
Comics Code.
Yeah, when the what was it, the Seduction of Innocence book that doctor guy wrote came out, and
all that interesting. Yeah, that's right. That I got put on lockdown.
But like a lot of that stuff got brought back like during the Vertigo age, because like the characters Cain and Abel that Neil Gaiman used, like those were the original hosts from like those old DC horror comics, and like so like all that stuff kind of back in the continuity now in a weird way.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So man, we can't talk to you without talking about one book in particular. I don't know if you wanted to get into it right away, Johnny, if there's other things you wanted to touch on before we dive into that, because I mean that's one of the big ones. Like Mountainhead is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I mean,
Right
I've John on a couple times.
Right off the bat, man, like you draw the best faces and ski masks I've ever seen, man.
Thank you.
Or balaclavas, I guess you're supposed to call them nowadays, but
yeah, I've drawn a lot of those at this point. A lot.
But they just, I mean, you draw them good. They look like you can see what they're supposed to be. You can see all the detail. Like a lot of the times that, I don't know, they kind of look funny when people draw them. And I can't draw one to save my life. But like, I look at yours and I'm just like, damn, he can draw a person in a ski mask hella good. That's a talent, in my opinion.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I wanted them to feel kind of dimensional, So, I mean, I like noodling and really getting in there on textures. So I think that was a big part of it too. But I didn't want it to look like it was just like painted on or some flat thing, Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Evil Pilgrim.
Yeah, for sure. You want it to have like feel the thickness of the material and like, how it de-accentuates the shapes of the face. Like it makes the shapes like a little softer when you put something on like that, and you definitely get that feel for sure. And even the texture of the material too, like you work that into it. Like it's just little details like that that are fantastic. Yeah.
Thanks. I wanted it to look kind of itchy.
Yeah.
Itchy and kind of gross and threadbare a little bit. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
No, you go ahead and finish, man. My bad.
Oh, I'm done.
I was just going to say, on top of that, man, the entire book just has this total claustrophobic feel, man. It's got this wonderful atmosphere to it, and it's your art that really drives it home, man. Like I love just your panel layouts and the way you just show the terror coming across somebody's face, like right here.
Oh, thanks a lot. Yeah, I was really trying to like. I mean, it's a lot of this is in the script too, but just trying. And John, here's one thing about John is John's a brilliant writer. I think that goes without saying. But he also didn't care if I and I talked to him about this before, but if I wanted to like add something or add a panel to like accentuate something, I would never detract, I would never take away anything. But there are a couple of occasions where I'd be like, you know what, this would be cool as like to add something here just to kind of accentuate like fear or I don't know, just or dread.
You did it so good because like for so much of the book you're not supposed to know if the monster is real or not, and like that's portrayed just so beautifully through the artwork. I mean, you really did make it look like, was it something out of a twitch out of the corner of the eye, or like really something that happened?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, it's funny because when we first pitched the book, and we pitched it for a couple of years, it was a hard sell at first because the book is really kind of a slow burn. It's that creeping dread and I like slow burn stuff, but when you're pitching it, it's hard to kind of be like, well, we're not really going to see any like real monsters until like the third issue, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, but I'm like, no, but there's a psychological aspect to this. I mean, obviously we're character building the entire way, but there's little visual cues and strange little things happening that like help build up. So like when you finally do see some of these actual, physical horrors, like that hits even more, and you care about the characters, like it's not just happening to some hollow husk of a character, which happens sometimes. But
yeah, but I mean, I think that's even more scary is the transformation of, let's say, a loved one.
Yeah,
right. There's nothing more creepy or scary than that, than someone you trust and love, and like you'd.
Because when the horror hit, that daddy scene, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
So skin crawling, man. It's just so uncomfortable, and you guys nailed it.
Yeah, it's a little sad. It's a lot.
It is. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, you run the gamut of emotions for sure. From like, because just think, like, I think that's like, it's not anything new. It's a pretty common theme of like a loved one being like taken over, and would you be able to, like, if you had to, would you be able to do it? Like, and I think 3/4 of the time the answer is no. And that's why so many of these characters meet their end, because it's that internal, like, paternal or maternal instinct. Just you can't bring yourself to do it, regardless of how much that loved one has changed, right? So.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
And there's also the psychological part of like anyone who's lost a child, like it's devastating. And in that moment, you're like, I don't want to live if, so you kind of get that where you give up on, like, because you've lost the thing most important to you. And I think that book really nails like a lot of those emotions and stuff like that.
Oh, so, thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. That's more than I could ever say about it.
It's a hidden gem, man. Like, as much as like John's popped off, I still think Mountainhead is just kind of underrated in my opinion, and really deserves way more accolades, because you guys deliver one hell of a package, man. It is probably his most unnerving work, and like the artwork is probably most of the reason for that, because like I said, when the monster does show up, it completely delivers. He's so crooked, and oh man.
I was just drawing what John was writing down, but I felt like a real like simpatico with him. Like I was the one. I approached John after reading, and then Emily was gone. And just the like, I'm like, this is like what I want to draw. And Ian's characters, and Ian is the most self-deprecating person on the planet.
Yeah.
And his stuff is so incredible to me.
It is
like inspiring. Truly inspiring to me. And I'm like, it's exactly what it needs to be. And I felt like I was on that island. And one thing that I took from Ian, and this is a lesson that I try to I still think about, that I learned from what he did in that book, is there isn't a single character in that book that looks like a normal human being. They are all terrifying looking, even like just the regular patrons in a bar. Each person looks kind of like a monster. And I really tried to do that with the exception of Abraham, in the story, he's the protagonist. But I tried to make like the old man when they break into the house and he's got the oxygen tank on. I wanted him to look like a monster, I feel like there's something in and that's another thing I see in the Coen brothers are some of my favorite directors, and Noah Hawley on the show Fargo, I think, is just equally as good as them. He's brilliant. They're amazing at casting people who have built-in character, who look like they have a story to them just by looking at their face. Like immediately they're captivating just by the way they look aesthetically, which might not always be the biggest compliment to stuff.
No, but I totally get what you're saying. Like Mountainhead, like there's so many characters and they're so distinct. like you said, like each character looks like almost like the story's written in their face. Like every little characteristic of their face, like it just gives you a creepy vibe, or like wondering like what the hell did that person do in life, like do they have like any skeletons in their closet, or it kind of gives off that vibe. Yeah, for sure.
I feel like so many times, like, I don't know, like the famous like scar across the eye is kind of like the built-in this guy's got a story, and I've been guilty of it, and it's fine and it's cool, it works. It's like a trope,
they've been doing it since the 50s, right? So
yeah, it works. Give someone a patch. Cool. What's that guy all about? He's dangerous.
Or dressed in black too was a thing back in the day.
Dressed in black, has a hook for a hand, whatever. But yeah, like, I don't know. I just that is a big thing I took from Ian, and I still think about that, because I don't want anyone, and it sometimes it's extra work. It's nice to have like a good stock face. It speeds up the process of drawing when you can just kind of slap a face on somebody. But I don't think there's one person in this book, and I mean, I made a concerted effort to like make every person, even people in the background, unique and interesting looking. I don't know. I know I draw kind of cartoony with like I mentioned before, with like a veneer of, with the rendering, a realistic rendering, but I think it adds more realism to a story when everyone looks different. So there's some crowd scenes, I think, in the first issue when Abraham first comes home.
Yeah.
And like every single person has a different face. Like I really wanted
town. Yeah.
Yeah, I really wanted to show, like, I wanted that Brerick, I wanted, just as much as John too. We wanted to feel like a real city, and I feel like when you do stuff like that, I think that just kind of helps make it seem a little more realistic in a weird way, even though everyone looks kind of goofy and crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we covered it on we covered Mountainhead in
one of the first episodes when we were still Pink Buzz. Yeah,
early on. Yeah, we covered it as one of the and I love it to hear people say they love And Then Emily Was Gone, because that's one of my favorite books from John. So, and then the fact that you said that's the book that you read that made you reach out to John and want to collaborate with him is freaking awesome.
I approached him at C2E2. I don't even remember what year it was, but it's rare for me to like. I mean, I'm pretty outgoing, but when it comes to stuff like that, I'm not like the most like. I don't go up to people and tell them how I feel all the time, unless I really, really love something. And I just felt like compelled to like, dude, I love this story. If you ever want to work together, I don't know if you'd want to. You can say no, or you can pretend like you'd like to. But like, I would love to work with you one time. And he was like, yeah. And then he went home, and I'm not kidding. Like a week later, he had like a starter script. It was insane. And yeah, and then we pitched it around for a while. It took a couple of years for it to get picked up finally. But thank you to David Hedgecock, who is no longer at IDW, but he was our champion over there to get it greenlit. So I'm ever grateful to him for that. It was awesome.
We're grateful as well, because we got to read an amazing book. So I think a lot of people are grateful that he gave you guys a shot with it. And,
it's a must read in my opinion. If you like horror, period, and you haven't read Mountainhead, it's so incredible.
And I love the setting too. It's not your typical setting, right? It's kind of like in an isolated mountain town. Like it's not your typical out in a haunted forest or a castle or a cave. Like it's out in the snow. Like, I mean, there's been horror movies that deal with that and stuff, or other books. Sure. Like a lot of people probably reference The Thing when they talk about this book, or
definitely. Yep.
Or what was one of Johnny's favorites as well, Road of Bones, where they're on the hike in the mountains. There's a lot, but I mean, it's not as it's not as common of a background or a setting for a horror story. So it's nice to see it, when it's done and it's well done. It's really cool.
That that cold isolation, if you can capture it like they did in like 30 Days a Night or Road of Bones, or like you guys did in Mountainhead, it's so effective, man. There's nothing more terrifying, in my opinion, than being stuck up in the snow. You know what I mean? It's just a terrifying thought to have.
Yeah, because what's worse than being scared to death and fucking cold and freezing? Like, I mean, miserable, freaking miserable. You're like, just kill me now, fuck, just get it over with, you know?
I base so much of that city on where I live. It's because I live in like a resort town, and we're by the water. We don't have mountains like that, but I know that cold, and I know that winter, and I know what that long gray is like. And there's something creepy about it too, for sure. Like, it feels like it's never going to end at some point. When in February, I'm like, I guess this is just my life forever.
It's just going to be gray outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so cold, right? And like you get the minus, well, I live in Canada, in Quebec, so I go in Celsius. So like when you hit that minus 30 to 40, and you know, like the grates just have this steam coming out, and everything just has a noise to it. Like any little thing moves, the way the trees crack when the wind blows. I mean, it's just a whole nother thing, right? Your jacket gets stiff, and it makes funny noises when you're, as it gets cold, and it's just crazy. There's just so many added elements that the cold bring, and no one's out,
dangerous.
Right? So you go out
too. Walking is dangerous in that weather, you know.
Yeah. I take the dog out, and he doesn't last long in that kind of weather. But you go out, and there's nobody. It's like it almost feels like a ghost town, right? Because everyone's staying in because it's so cold, and
I feel that. I mean, I hope some of that came through. Like, it is nice that I know what that feels like to be in that, and I think, I don't know in what way, but I'm sure it informed a little bit of how I drew it or what I drew in it, and just like just how people dress in that weather and stuff. I know that I learned that moving up here, so has its own aesthetic, Yeah,
but you put fights aside with your girlfriend too, because it's like cold, so it's like, let's just cuddle, get warm. So it's like, forget about the fight we had a few minutes ago.
Nesting
come
season.
Over here. Yeah, exactly, nesting season. It's like, it's cold,
just spoon until everything thaws.
Yeah, till you're warm enough, just that body heat. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So definitely it comes off in the book that you and John work really well together, which comes up with another thing, because I read John's I don't read it religiously every week, but I'll read it most weeks, and I caught one of his newsletters where he talked about another project you guys worked on for close to almost 2 years. And about robots, because in his newsletter AI's become a point of contention and stuff. So John touched on it a little bit in his newsletter. And he talked about this one book. What's it called?
Based off of Pluto, which is a reimagining of Astro Boy. It's a really good manga. I have it too.
Really? Huh. That's cool.
Yeah, and cool. So he brought it up that you guys were working on a kind of he didn't go into specifics. He just said you guys had been working on it on and off for maybe a year or so, and it almost got picked up. I think you guys almost picked it up off a publisher.
Yeah.
But then it kind of fell through at the last minute, and he in his newsletter he said he didn't close the door to revisit it one day, maybe get it made. So
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how much you know about it, but
I think it was called Holler. Is that it?
The Holler. Yeah.
The Holler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a strange. I love stories that feel like they're out of time, and you don't know if they're in the past or the future or present tense. And that story kind of mixes that. I feel like there's a lot of that in the movie It Follows, where they're using their cars look old and they're using antiquated technology, but it's also like it feels like it's this year, but not like, I love that. It makes everything feel a little scary, a little spooky, almost like you're in some strange pocket universe. And that's kind of what that story felt like to me. they're down in I believe it was Mississippi, but there's like these harvesting robots. Yeah, it is such a bizarre story. I don't know how much John want me. I don't know what he said about it in there, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, there's just it's just a strange mix of like supernatural elements. I believe there's a medium in the story, and it is just one of the weirdest things I ever read. I remember reading it and laughing because there's a turn in the script, and I'm just like, John, this is how are we going to sell this?
So, like he said, you guys got pretty far in the pitching process with publishers. Which publisher almost picked it up?
I think at one point it was Aftershock.
Aftershock was looking at it? Okay.
Correctly. This was years ago.
So in the end, maybe you guys dodged a bullet there in the end.
Yeah, we definitely did. I think we definitely did, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Aftershock.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't know. I would love to draw it. Like it's one of those stories that's so strange, and so out of like left field that I think that, and John's great with characterizations. I feel like we all know John's is great at doing like creeping horror, but I think the strength of a lot of the stories of are like the relationships of his characters. I don't know if that gets talked about enough. He's great at doing that, and it just makes the stakes so much higher. And this story is just, I know that John would nail it. Like, we never got to the point where I did pages or anything like that. I did some concept art, and we kind of tried to develop the concept. But yeah, it's just it was going to be my brother too, who actually was the letterer and designer on Mountainhead, Sean Lee.
Okay.
He was developing this too with John, and I don't know, maybe one day we'll get
hopefully.
Whole lot of leads on that.
I'm throwing it back out there into the ether. Maybe it'll gain some steam. Maybe John will hear us talking about it and be like, "Oh fuck yeah, people are talking about it." You know, like
I want to see you draw robots now, man. As cool as you draw people with ski masks on, I'd like to, as a big fan of like the old school type robots, man. I'd like to see how you like an automaton. You know what I mean? That would be.
Really thanks, man. Oh, I love that stuff. I took a year of industrial design when I was in school, so I was going to be a product design major, and I drew a lot of toasters and a lot of electric toothbrushes, but it also taught me like how to draw like mechanics and how to build things, you know. And I love drawing robots. I really do. It would be fun. It would be really, really cool to do. So maybe one day we'll see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Hopefully. I mean, anything you guys put out together, I'll definitely be buying. Yeah. The Naturals. So what's talking about there? The Naturals. I think that was a book you worked on, right? I saw that come up when I was looking at stuff.
Yeah, Eric, the guy who's chiming in there, he was a big cheerleader for a book, The Naturals. It was actually the first finished comic I ever did. My friend Chris Mewis, who lives here in northern Michigan with me, I was just trying to break in. Mm-hmm. You know, they're always telling you like I have been doing the sample thing, and that's a dead end. Doing samples it's good for practice, but like unless you're Jim Lee, like I don't know how many people have ever really gotten work from samples. I don't know. I'm very skeptical, especially in this climate. I do think like the best thing to do is to make a book and to show that you can finish something, you know?
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, I had to get off my soapbox about it, but I went through it for years doing the samples thing, and it just felt like I was chasing my tail. And it wasn't a waste of time, because the more you draw pages, the better you get, you know?
Better you get, yeah.
But it's nice that I think the best way to learn, though, is to do like one long sequential piece, start to finish. That's something that's impressive to a publisher, because they see that you have follow through, right? Mm-hmm. And we did a webcomic. That was something I could commit to, but like it was like a weekly or bi-weekly thing, I think, later on, as I got busier with work. And it kind of forced me to like finish, you know, because we were on a schedule. So we set the webpage up, and we did it as a web comic, and then when we got to a certain point, we compiled it into a comic. And Chris and I, we went to C2E2 one year, and we did great. We sold pretty well, considering it was just like a repurposed web comic in like a horizontal format too. And this guy walked up to our table, and he was like, "Hey man, this looks really cool." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." And I saw he had like a pro badge on, or exhibitor badge. He was like, "Well, hey, this book looks really great." And he looked through my portfolio because I had the pages from the book there. Mm-hmm. And it was Warren Simons, and he at the time was the, I think he was the, he was like the head editor at Valiant. And that's how I got Valiant work, was from this webcomic.
Awesome.
And he started giving me some, he gave me some like variant covers to do for a little while, but he gave me a lot. And he was awesome. And then I, that type of stuff makes you feel legitimate too, you're like, wow, I'm doing stuff for Valiant. This is pretty cool,
Yeah.
And Warren was, a big reason why Valiant at that point in time was so successful. Like, not that I'm saying for myself, but I think he's just like the people he had working on his books. Like, he had a great stable of creators that he could tap into, because he worked at Marvel a while ago, and people loved him, and they just wanted to work with him. And I don't know, I felt very, very lucky that he had spotted that. But like I said, like, nothing's for naught,
Yeah.
But that's what The Naturals was. It was just like this, it was kind of like a World War II. It was a World War II comic it was like a World War II superhero comic, more or less. It was pretty violent.
Yeah.
If
people wanted to get their hands on it, like, how like, is it on your big cartel? Do you have it anywhere, like PDF for sale, or?
I have, I do have PDFs, and I still have comics. I still have a lot of comics, I think. So if anyone ever wants one, you do have some originals. If anyone ever wants to, just reach out to me, message me, and I'll probably just send them to you for free. I've had them for so long. They're old.
Deal.
It's not like my best work.
Right.
But
we're talking off air, buddy.
I'll hook you up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, delete that part from the show for now, Johnny, until we get our copies. Then we'll put it back in.
I'll put some aside for you. You'll be
nice.
on top of the pile.
I would love to read that. I love seeing like creators, their early work. Like.
Yeah, the come up, man. Like
like the progression, and you see the evolution. I think that's a beautiful thing. Like the evolution of someone's work is just fun to watch. And I think that's why people love sports and following, like a rookie up to like becoming a Hall of Famer. Like, people follow careers, right? And it's kind of the same thing in anything, right? When you're putting something out there and people follow it, and just to see the progression and where you end up, like with legends, like look at so many artists out there, like how their styles changed from, like, just look at Frank Miller, right? From how he started and his style, then to Sin City, Mike Mignola, all these guys, like where they start and how their styles evolved over time to like where they found their comfort zone. Like the thing that just cemented them as a legend in the industry, right? So
2 perfect examples of guys who like made a very conscious decision to like stick out, and draw weird.
Yeah. Oh, and man, I could see you doing so many different characters, like big 2 characters that I'd love. Like, I love the way you draw, like with the skinny arms and legs and stuff. And I think I'd love to see you do a Ghost Rider, because so many people draw Ghost Rider like big and bulky, but he's a skeleton with a flaming head. Like, I'd love to see Ghost Rider, and that's why I like that's why I like Clayton Crane's Ghost Rider, because he was thinner, like slimmer, right? And it felt more like a skeleton walking around with it, And I think your style, like the way you do it, would definitely, like, you you would knock that out of the park. And your
And you could
style
do
lends itself to like the macabre, right? Like the dark, the the creepy, like your style's perfect. Like that's one character I would love.
You could do all the different types of Ghost Riders too. You could do the classic, and I think you could probably nail that. The Vin Diesel one they had a couple years ago with the car. He wasn't.
Oh yeah, I love that one. Was that Was that
Robbie?
Trad and Marco Rudy.
Yeah, Robbie Reyes.
Yeah, that stuff was really cool. Really cool. Yeah, he's a fun character, and I keep picturing like Judge Death or something.
Yes,
you're kind of describing.
Yeah, Judge Dredd. I could see you doing some pretty cool Judge Dredd stuff too. Like, I mean, I love your style, so I could see you doing
thank you.
Every character, and it would turn out amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, if IDW was still doing that American Judge Dredd stuff they were doing a couple years ago,
yeah, that would have been fun. That would have been really cool. And it's funny because I didn't grow up with access to a lot of the British comics or anything like that. And looking back now, I bought a lot. And every time I'm in a dollar bin or something, and I see I see a Strontium Dog or just any of these 2000 AD characters. I'm like, that style. A lot of the characters are really exaggerated proportion wise, and they're also super. They're really detailed ink wise, and I don't know. I like the way that stuff looks. I like that fussy line work, and I don't know that aesthetic from that era all kind of look like that. Even I just got some. I don't think I have them by me, but there's even when Brian Bolland was doing it's early Brian Bolland. His characters they're not so representational, I just love the way that stuff looks. It's right down my alley of it's weird. It looks kind of indie-ish. People look kind of strange. I mean, I gravitate towards weird styles.
Yeah.
I love all comic art. I truly do. I have a mix of everything from the Ultimates to, some of my favorite stuff, this guy, Jose Munoz, Alex Sinner. Look at the faces in here are just some of the stuff is I love all that stuff is just incredible. He's just so good. I mean, I love it all, but I do gravitate towards weirder styles. I don't know why that is. Michel Fife.
Yeah.
There's just nothing that it's very conscious effort to. It doesn't always look technically correct or anatomically correct.
Yes. Yeah.
But I feel things that look. Just the way things are drawn can add so much tone to a story, just in the way it's drawn.
Tone and mood, yeah.
Yeah. So that stuff makes it feel weird. Ian's stuff is so
yes.
It's so unconventional in all the best ways, and it only makes things like horror stories seem that more horrific. Or I don't know. It just kind of puts you in a different mindset,
It adds a lot.
Benjamin Mara.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that Benjamin Mara stuff. It's kind of stiff. It's kind of stiff and action figure and it's funny. It makes me. It's. I mean, he has a very dark sense of humor, but his books are mostly humor,
Very
but
true.
The way but there's a charm to that.
Yeah.
And it's a very conscious effort. It's not. I think there's a misconception that sometimes when people draw weird, like Frank Miller's later stuff, which, people love it, some people hate it. It's fine. There's nothing else like it, and it's not just he can't. It's not that he can't draw. He's made it. This is a aesthetic he's going for.
Well, I always say. I like artists that, like you said, make a choice to be different because it's almost like a fingerprint. It becomes instantly recognizable, right? I see your stuff and I'm like, Ryan Lee. Like you've
Huge
developed the
compliment to me.
style.
Truly,
You've developed the
thank you.
style that is your own. Like, I mean, you could see influences from like other artists maybe that influenced you along the way, but
Yeah.
you didn't
Whatever.
copy them. You just took something, different elements, and fashioned it to your own style. And when you look at it, you're like, oh, Ryan Lee. Like right away, you're like, oh, this is him. Or other artists like Mignola. Right away, you're like Mignola, right? Like, you know, it becomes your fingerprint. It's like DNA. It's unique. Where like if you're trying to copy people, then it just starts looking all the same. And like Johnny and I have talked about this before, and it's kind of sad because you go to a comic shop and the shelves are dominated by DC and Marvel. Yeah. And 90% of their books all look the same. Like nowadays I have a hard time telling you who did what. Like on the shelf, I couldn't pull an artist off. Like 90% of the artists working on those books all have a very similar style and look a lot alike, and it's hard to distinguish one book from the next. You know, it lacks personality. Whereas like where you're saying something a little weird or a little off, it adds so much personality to the book and lends it a unique voice to it, right? That stands out from the rest. And I think that's so important. And I think that's kind of gets lost a little bit where, you know, too many people like you said, proportions. They worry too much about the technical aspects of it and forget about the artistry, the expression of art. Art is an expression. And if you're not if you're not expressing anything, then it becomes mechanical, sterile. You know, it cold even. Like it's well done. It's technically done, but I don't feel anything for it. You know what I mean?
I just feel like and I'm not trying to minimize more representational art or anything like that. It's just a personal taste. It's just it's something that I like to see more of, and I can appreciate all of it. I went to art school. Drawing realistic is. Can I swear on this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's fucking hard. It's work, and there are such subtle nuances to getting things correct. To draw like that, and I have the utmost respect for people who can draw like that. My friend Dave Acosta, he does stuff for like Elvira at Dynamite, and he's doing a book called Terror War right now. He is a very representational artist. I mean, looking at his pencils blows my mind because he doesn't trace at all, and it's incredible to me. I'm like, how do you shape these figures? He just has like this. He can just like map this stuff out, and it looks beautiful and elegant. And my stuff will never be called beautiful or elegant, I don't think, like that. And I have the most respect for that. But I also like when we get back to like a Michelle Fife, I'm kind of like that stuff kind of excites me though. I guess I like seeing something new, maybe.
Different, yeah. But I think what you're talking about, like for people who do realistic, I think what helps a lot is if you do sculpting as well.
Yeah.
You know, and you get a feel for the form in 3D. And that when you do realism, because I did a little bit of sculpting and drawing when I was in school, and I found the two lend itself one to the other a lot. And when you do both, when you do like they help each other, and it helps you become like the little nuances, like you said, the little touches, like, you know, because you're playing with the shapes, like hands-on a little more and shaping it. So as you're shaping it physically with let's say clay or whatever you're working with, and then when you go to the pencil, you have a better understanding of that shape and how like the light works on it and stuff like that. So I think like you said, everything has its pros and its cons. Like but like we're talking about comics here. Like I can appreciate art, but a comic, I want it to grab me. I want it to be like something that's like, holy fuck, what's this? You know, something that makes you do a double take, you know, like, and
I feel like certain types of art work better with certain types of stories. Like Sean Phillips and Ed Brubaker stuff, their brand, what they do, I feel like his art is perfect for these types of like kind of realistic crime stories. You know, thinking as just if you're to think as an editor, like I think I don't know. I think stories like that, I don't know, just certain types of art work better with certain types of stories, right?
Mhm.
Like that's just how it goes. Like someone doing something very realistic might not work for like a Rick and Morty story. I mean,
Yeah.
even if they're, I don't know. That's not the best example, but
that's I understand what you mean. Like it has to lend itself to the tone of the subject matter, right? Like not everyone's style works for every story. You know what I mean? And that's kind of crucial to telling a story, especially we're talking about sequential art. You're telling a story through pictures. It's not just one canvas that you're just putting up and you're just staring at that one canvas for 15 minutes. You're telling a story through sequential art. So that definitely plays in it. And you've got to understand that as well. That's a whole nother art on its own, right? Yeah. So, I mean, it's different art forms. And I just get sick of people kind of saying art is good or bad based on such a narrow-minded, like, guidelines or rules, right? Like, I mean, isn't the point of making art to expand our way of thinking? like you know what I mean? Like it's a cliche, but think outside the box, right? And too many people force themselves back into a box where it's like, no, man, embrace the ugly, embrace the imperfections. Like sometimes, like, you know, those imperfections lead to something even better. Like a happy mistake, you know, where you're like, oh fuck, this was a mistake, but man, did it turn out into something fucking interesting, and you work from there, and it blossoms into something even bigger later on. Like, you know, like, and I think too many people get bogged down to, like you say, realism, or, you know, they don't try to expand beyond their comfort zone. And I think those artists you see don't grow as much in the long run.
Sometimes,
you know,
sometimes. I feel like some people, I mean, if that's what you like to draw, and that I'm all, if that's how you draw and that's what you like to draw, I feel like you do have natural inclinations too.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, just I'm all for following your gut wherever that takes you, whether it be realism or whether it's the weirdest shit you've ever seen. Like, I feel like Brad Moore's stuff gets crazier and crazier looking every comic he draws, and I'm for it. I love. There's enough different artists out there and different styles where I think that we can sate everyone's appetite. Hopefully, you know, like Eric Canetti was one of my favorite artists, and like he did some stuff I think back in the day on I think Iron Man, and I don't think it was very well received because a lot of people didn't like seeing Iron Man drawn so expressively, exaggerated. I mean, Eric's work is incredible, and you know, not everybody's stuff. I feel like, you know, we always kind of joke about like our parents and stuff, and this is a little reductive. I don't mean to be. This is kind of like a jokey thing, but our parents just saying like, "Oh, I like that because it looks like the thing." You know, like, that's really good because it looks just like it, or whatever that is, you know. But I don't expect everyone to be an art critic, and you know, like seeing something that's realistic is it's impressive. I still find like these things impressive.
For sure, but it's because people talk about it in such like art is subjective. Like for each person, it represents something different, and to see people talk it in such what's the word I'm looking for? And such, you know, like this is it, and such like
absolutes.
Right? Yeah, it's not like look at art throughout time. Just from the beginning of time, art, how it started from caveman drawings to where we are today. Like, art is constantly evolving and changing, you know? And I mean, I think people lose sight of that. And they talk in absolutes, like, this is it. Okay, maybe it is for you, but it's not for everyone. And, you know, like Johnny and I say, okay, we don't like something, but that doesn't mean it's not good. It's just not for us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Unless it does suck.
Yeah, unless it's totally awful. Unless it's just awful. No, I feel the same way. I'm like, yeah, like it's all it comes down to personal taste. Like there's people who, and this isn't necessarily like real, like hard realism, but like kind of the Alex Toth school where minimalism is king.
Yeah.
You only draw what you need to draw.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Alex Toth is incredible. Love his stuff. And there's a lot of artists who kind of like emulate that aesthetic, and I love their work. And there's a couple of them who are just incredible, amazing. I mean, that is an example for me of something that looks elegant. And in terms of like sequential storytelling, it's just so cool to see that. Like there is a true beauty and almost like a poetry to that. But like for me, when I draw, like I can't really do that. That's not really, I just can't do that. And then when I draw a bunch of lines on stuff, and I think that there's a misconception about people who like to render and people who do hatching or use like a lot of textures and stuff. I don't do that stuff because I just want to draw lines because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I do it because I like the way it looks. And also, when I use hatching, I use it to shape form.
Yeah.
I use it to feather out of a shadow.
Mm-hmm.
I use it to add mood. I use it to add texture. I'm not just throwing lines up piecemeal. Like, I'm thinking about everything I'm doing. It's not like I think something got lost in what happened in the 90s after everyone was trying to be Jim Lee or Mark Silvestri, where there were a lot of people who were trying to do that Scott Williams kind of inky look, but they didn't understand, or I think according to some people, they didn't understand what they were doing, so they were just kind of putting like lines everywhere, and it didn't really make sense. It just kind of looked like a mess. I mean, I still like all that stuff. I grew up on those comics, so I love all that stuff, and I think the art's incredible. But that's a thing that a lot of people kind of think of as bad comics or things that are poorly drawn or overly wrought, And I just think that's like I said, I've said it a couple times, but I just think that's a different aesthetic. That's a different look.
Well, look,
it's an
example.
And these are the rules within that look.
Yeah, like just look, in drawing class, you do life drawing. You have a model there, and you'll have a class of like maybe 20 people, right? And you're all drawing this exact same person. And then after, when it's break time, you walk around and take a look at everyone's drawing. No two drawings will be the same.
Sure.
And you have the same lighting, the same person, it's how we interpret things from our eyes to our brain to our hand. Like everyone's different, right? And it translates onto the paper. It's how you experience something. We don't experience everything the same way, so it's not going to translate the same onto the paper. We all live different lives. We've had past experiences, and whether you like it or not, that all comes into factors subconsciously, consciously. I mean, there's so many things at play that influence everything, and I think
of it like music, man. I think of like 90s comics or like kind of like Korn and like Limp Bizkit.
Sure.
It's the same equivalent. And like, yeah, I can put on some, like at least the first couple Korn albums, the first Limp Bizkit, and rock out to it. You know what I mean? And
that's a perfect example. No, that's great. That's a perfect analogy, music, for sure.
And that's how I can still bust out like my old Cyberforce comics and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I'm a huge fan of punk, and like, there's an idea that like, some of them can't play, but I don't care. I love how there's an energy and a rawness to it, and that's what I like about it. Like, that's not a deterrent. That's the good part about it. So, it's like, one man's treasure, but that's a perfect example of music where it's like, yeah, these guys are playing 3 chords. Yeah, they're not Geddy Lee. No offense. Love Geddy Lee. But like, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not good music, or it's not valid. It's a specific sound, it's a specific art form. It's a specific style. And yeah, I don't like when people say something is this type of art or this type, is bad. It just doesn't make sense. That means it's bad because you like one type of art. You like one type of art, and that's fine. But There is a lot of talk like that. I have seen a little bit of that, and it's a strange realm to be in. You know?
Yeah.
It always seems to be when somebody kind of more expressive or experimental gets a gig at Big Two. Like I remember the last big one I saw that kind of pissed me off was when Riley Rossimo got Harley Quinn, and everyone's like, "Oh, he can't draw," and I'm like, "What, dude? Riley's amazing, dude." Like,
it was too cartoony or this or that, and I was like, "Dude, this guy's style is just fantastic." Like, and like, I mean, a lot of people ragged on his Martian Manhunter. You know, like, and I thought that was amazing. Like, the work he did in that was fantastic. People are like, "Oh, I hate the art in that," and I was like, "What are you talking about? It's fucking phenomenal. It's mind blowing." You know.
I can't. Like, Riley's one of my best friends, for real. And I see his stuff. I see his pencils. I see his inks, occasionally on things that he's working on. And he is pushing it. His layouts are so crazy. His storytelling is amazing. People just don't like the way he draws, like, faces. They don't like, and I'm just like, what he's giving you in this comic is such a unique experience, and he's just an amazing. The way he like spins the camera around, he is a master storyteller, and he has some of the best page layouts and designs I've ever seen. And I am a huge Eduardo Risso is probably like my favorite. If I need to look at somebody for storytelling, I think he is my favorite. He's probably my favorite. You probably don't see it in my work. It's there, but I try, but like no one does what he does with a page design and a layout. I feel like his flow and how interesting the page is, just as like a singular artifact, his stuff just looks gorgeous. It's just incredible. Even like talkie pages, you know, the pages that don't sell. Like, I would kill to have one of his pages. Any one of those. His worst page is better than most people's greatest page, you know? Like, he's amazing. But Riley's amazing. And Riley loves Risto, too. And he puts so much time in his layouts. It's insane. It's insane. He really is. I think he is one of the most underrated artists in comics. All he does is crank out great books. He doesn't take a break on any page he does. He does not miss deadlines. He is one of the most professional people I've ever met in my life. And he puts his all into everything he does. He's never shit out a page, ever. He's redone pages. He'll be like, I redid that page. Like, you were a maniac. Like, you're insane.
Oh, yeah, we love his work. It's good stuff, man. Like,
I'll have to let him know, because
I've been a huge fan since Proof.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. Put in a good word, man. We'd love to have him on the show and shoot the shit with him.
I'll tell him for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm reading his Constantine book right now. So with Tinian. Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah, I have his Martian Manhunter book he did. Anyway, Johnny and I think we covered his Viking book, right?
Cowboy Ninja Viking.
Cowboy Ninja Viking. We covered that early on the show.
Yeah. Proof was the first thing I read. A friend of mine, the guy that I wrote the Naturals with, actually lent me Proof. And that was before I knew Riley, and I love that book. I was like, this is so cool. Yeah, that's sad and strange, and you know.
Like, what really got me into Image at first, like what got me back into him, like I remember that and Bomb Queen were like the two books that kind of really got me down the Image train.
Okay, yeah, that was a cool era for sure. Seems like it was a long time ago now.
Yeah, really. It was a long time ago.
We're all getting older, eh? So a lot of things. Yeah. When you start thinking about it, it's like, oh fuck, that was 20 years already.
Don't say that.
But like Riley's one of the guys that we were talking about. I've literally seen that guy blossom, man. I seen him tighten up, and like, because if you look at him back in Proof, like he was really loose and kind of scratchy at that time, but I still loved it. Like, I grew up reading Vertigo, so like I was always into experimental art styles. So whenever I see a book like it's really kind of interesting with really cool art, I always really appreciate it.
Yeah, that book was wild. Like, so many like superfluous, just like scratchy lines everywhere. But it added to it. You know, a good example where it like made the book feel unique and kind of antiquated and just I don't know. It's just really neat. Like I've never.
I can't help but say that Department of Truth ripped it off.
Did it? I've only read like the first issue of Department of Truth. So.
Kind of, not really, but it's in the same like
tread some similar ground.
Yeah,
a little bit. There was another book out at the same time as Proof called I think it was around Perhapanauts. Did you read that?
Yeah, Perhapanauts.
That was kind of similar. It was like a Mothman and like there's a bunch of cryptids I think in it.
Yeah,
that's kind of a neat book.
That was Scout put that one out, eh? Was it, or am I thinking of a different one? I can't.
No, this is old
book, right?
Oh, it was probably had the same name then. It was similar name
too.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember the one you're talking about. Good stuff, man. I had so much fun with those. Really, like Rebel Blood and some of that Green Wake.
Oh, Green Wake. I liked Green Wake a lot. I'd actually like to see like a follow up to Green Wake. I just love that world.
Yeah.
So cool, like
creepy old world. Yeah, dude, it was really neat.
Old like wharf towns and stuff like that. Kind of cool.
Oh, I got a big question though, man. Do you have any plans of actually writing and like doing a book on your own at any point? Do you have any ambitions for that?
That's exactly what I wanted to ask him next. So you're reading my mind, John.
Yeah, I wrote a script and I actually started penciling it. It's this character I drew for like did I do it for Inktober one year? It's this character named Pox. He's like this little ghoul boy. And I wrote like an oversized first issue, and I started penciling it. But then I got a bunch of work, like paying work, because I was just going to crowdfund it, and I still might. But most of that issue is penciled, and I started inking like the first page of it. But that's as far as I got on it. Yeah, I can show you part of it actually.
Oh damn!
I'm gonna show you a little bit of it though. That's all you get. Just like a big splat.
Oh yeah, I saw you post. I saw a few. You posted a few things on.
Yeah, here's some gut. There's some guts down here.
Yeah.
Wheelbarrow. But
I think
it's just an entire monster world basically that he lives in. It's kind of the tone is kind of silly, but it's super duper violent, like really gory, like horror level gore. So yeah, we'll see. I'd like to finish it.
Fuck yeah, man! If kickstart that shit, but Johnny, I will be back in that for sure, 100%. Yeah. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people will be in line for it too.
Yeah, I could show you a couple of the pencil pages too if you want to see them off camera. It'd be hard for me to do it on here, but
okay.
Yeah, I forgot how far along I was on that because it was almost all penciled. So just gotta ink it, but I got another gig that I'm working on right now. So
I hinted at that earlier. Like, so you got some stuff in the pipeline you can't really talk about, but like, how far out is that stuff?
I don't think it's going to come out until late, or no, it could be next fall. It could be next fall. I'd have to look at the schedule. I have my schedule for like due dates and stuff, but I only put down like when my stuff was due, not like the lettering and the coloring and all that stuff. So, but yeah, it's happening. I'm currently working on it. So, and then I'm finishing up. I did like these interstitials for an anthology too, a horror anthology, and I'm just finishing that up too. So,
can you say who you're working with on that, or is that kind of a no as well?
I don't think I can yet.
Okay,
but hopefully soon.
Cool.
Can you say what genre it is? Can you?
It's horror.
It's horror. Okay, right on.
Yeah, it's kind of it's pretty fun. It's horror. So,
nice. Right on.
Right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think you posted a couple pages from what you're working on there on your socials. So if people go follow you on socials, they can get. I think you posted you had a few pages with a red line and a little bit of inks going on. So
yeah, there's some of those going on. Mm-hmm. So yeah, a couple things happening. It's good to be busy. Good to be
good to be working.
So it's nice. Yeah, For sure. And working on cool stuff. I mean, I'm really excited about this new thing I'm doing. Getting to work with an awesome writer and with a really cool publisher. Someone I haven't worked with before. So it's gonna be pretty sweet.
It's gonna be like a mini series or kind of like a graphic novel, like.
Yeah, it's like a full. I mean, it's a closed story. But yeah, I think it'll be like 6 issues, something like
Nice.
that.
Right on.
Okay.
Cool.
So full arc.
Right in that perfect zone we were always talking about, the 6-issue sweet spot for horror miniseries is.
Yeah, people don't seem to buy after that, or they trade weight. So, which I've been guilty of doing myself. So really,
yeah, for sure, man. Johnny, did you have anything else you wanted to touch on or bring up?
No, man. Aside from just keep your eyes peeled for what Ryan's got coming up in the near future, because it's going to be rad. And he's going to be doing with a pretty exciting writer. It's got him hyped, so it's got me hyped. So definitely look out for that, because Mountainhead was, like I said several times, probably one of the best horror things in general to come out in the last decade, man. It really nails what it was going for with the atmosphere and the just perfection. So if you haven't read that, definitely pick it up. It would have been perfect for Halloween, but it's definitely good for any time of the year. You know what I mean? It's
a winter story.
Winter's coming. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, winter's coming.
Put a t-shirt on.
Yeah. And Rick and Morty fans, man, your Rick and Morty work is phenomenal as well. So anyone that's fans of Rick and Morty, go pick up Ryan's work on that through Oni Press. I mean, that's impressive stuff as well, and it's really fun stuff. Like the Crisis one when the zombies come out and they that was so good. You really got to flex there with the zombie one. You're able to take more liberties. So there was some really cool scenes in that where you really got to flex a little more and draw some rotting Ricks and Mortys. So that was pretty cool. Yeah,
I love that. That's a good time.
Yeah, man.
Thank you guys.
Yeah,
really
fantastic, man. Thanks for coming on. Like Johnny said, people go check out all the work you've done, because it's definitely worth it. Can't praise your work enough. And yeah, man. So
I want to plug your socials, because like we said before, you had a really rad Inktober. Like, go look at all the you drew. Like, it's Ryan Lee art at most places, right?
Yeah. I think Riley. I think it's like at Riley. Jeez, I always have to check because I can always get. There is a Ryan Lee artist who does like concept art. The dude's incredible.
Yeah, I
absolutely amazing. I am Rai Lee Art on Instagram, and then I think I'm at Riley Art on the X.
On Twitter.
Yep, on Twitter at Riley Art, and then I'm on Blue Sky too. I don't know what's happening there actually, but
anybody who wants to be on Blue Sky, hit me and show up. We have like 8. I have 8
codes to give out.
If you want to be up on.
I'm looking. Let me see how many I have right now. Oh, I have 5 now.
I think 5's the maximum. I don't think you can exceed 5. I think once you get to 5, they stop giving them to you.
I'm mostly on Instagram. I still post stuff on Twitter. I don't know why. And then I'm still on Facebook and everywhere else.
What's your website again? What's the address for your website?
I believe, and I have to look this up too, because like I said, I get mixed up. It's RyanLeeArt.studio.
.studio. So you have a bunch of stuff on there, commissions you've done. You have art galleries. You have original pages for sale. You have all kinds of stuff, all kinds of goodies on there. So people can go check that site out too if you want to get hooked up with some merch or some original art, or even are your commissions open right now? Are they closed? What's going on with that?
They're going to be closed right now. I got to focus on doing this comic. I gotta focus. I'm not good at like pivoting back and forth. Some people are great at it. I am not. I just have to kind of shut it down and focus on the one thing.
Well, listen, selfishly, I'm happy to hear that, because Because if you're working on commissions, not putting out books, then we don't get books. So hey,
selfishly,
I'm happy that you shut your commissions down temporarily to get this worked out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm here to tell stories, so
yeah.
That's
right.
the big thing.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Yeah.
Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it. You guys are great to talk to. Thank you.
Hey, likewise, man. You're a fun guy, great to talk to. So it's mutual.
Cool. Thanks.
All right, Johnny.
All right.
We'll see you guys tomorrow. We're going to be doing our first episode for Big Tuesday. We're going to talk about some weird Marvel book. Big Two books. It's going to be, we're going to talk about Howard the Duck by Chip Zdarsky, and we're going to talk about Kurt Busiek's Batman Creature of the Night. Really, really different kind of Batman book. It should be a really fun episode. Join us then, and we'll see you then. So take it easy, y'all.